Fantasy Edge with Richard Savill and Dennis Sosic.
Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Edge. I am Richard Savill, Fantasy Six Pack. Joining me shortly, Dennis Sosic, also of FantasySixPack.net. Welcome to Week 10, everybody. Game going on tonight between the Saints and the Ravens. Should be good. We're not watching it. We want to watch it later so we can just zip through commercials and that'll be great. So lots and lots to talk about. And this is kind of getting to be a normal thing, but
Show today is crowded, so we must move quick.
Yes, we must. But in order to do that, Dennis has to come in. Hello, Dennis. How's it going, man?
Good, Richard. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. Did pretty good. I think we talked before the show that in one of my leagues, a guy abandoned the league, didn't do anything, didn't set a lineup. I mean, he has Cam Akers and Michael Thomas, and I don't blame him. Probably would have abandoned my team too if I had those guys. He had Jamar Chase too on his team, who was out for we still don't know how long. That's something we could talk about too. But so
show today is crowded, so we must move quick.
Yes. It's always crowded, this show, isn't it, Dennis? But
yes, it is.
We'll get right to the news here. And top of the news today is Frank Reich fired. You know, you were kind of on top of this, Dennis. He's fired as Colts head coach. And Jeff Saturday, who used to be he's kind of a famous lineman, center on the team, takes over as interim. So, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by his firing. I mean, that his team looked like in shambles all year. I mean, they deal with a lot of injuries, but, quarterback play didn't help with Matt Ryan looking as old as he is. And, they get the rookie under in there. He didn't look good at all. And, it's kind of an odd hiring of getting Jeff Saturday to hire. He's never been a coach in the league, and he's coaching some kind of high school team or some kind of other team that they have a 500 team with that. So they more of a, PR move than actual attempt to win, so maybe they're going to take it the rest of the year. But and maybe they bring Matt Ryan back because Ellinger isn't it. So hopefully they get that offense back going again because they're killing the fantasy values of Pittman and Pierce and stuff who looks good for bits and pieces of the season, but they haven't looked good in the last couple of weeks.
No, not at all. And I guess we can mention Jonathan Taylor in there. I think Deion Jackson got hurt, so that might affect the waivers. I'm not sure how hurt he is. He isn't in the news. I should put him in look him up. I'll leave that to you, Dennis, to look up the news on Deion Jackson.
Yeah, well, I know he did get hurt. When I was watching the game, I thought he was like, oh no, that's the end of him. But he actually came back to play.
Oh, he did.
And he played the rest. He came back and played the rest of the game. He didn't do anything, but he for much of the buildup that he got, coming into the game, he didn't do anything. I mean, the whole team was in shambles and play calling was horrendous. The Patriots destroyed them. But we'll see what happens this week. Who knows what's going on with Jonathan Taylor, his issues that he's having with his ankle, and now that they're looks like it's a lost season, do you really want to bring him back and make some permanent damage to him? But maybe they should probably put him on the shelf and fight for next year, maybe.
Thoughts? That's definitely a thought. Unlike Matt Rule, I think Frank Reich still has a future because I think there was kind of with Frank Reich there was. On the Colts, he kind of had a lot of missing parts for some reason. Because last year he looked pretty good. But that failure to make the playoffs with Wentz and the disaster losing to the Jaguars would have. They had I do believe they held, as I say, destiny in their own hands. All they had to do was beat the Jaguars, and they were in the playoffs last year.
Right.
And that failure sort of carried into this season a little bit. But I don't know. I like Frank Reich. I still think he has a future. I don't know about you, but I think he'll work his way back into a head coaching job eventually. He's certainly going to get, an OC job somewhere.
Yeah, OC, I think definitely, but head coach, I I'd be surprised if he gets a head coaching job.
He won't get a head coach right away.
No, I don't think he will ever. But I mean, stranger things have happened. So yeah,
well, I don't know. Look at Jack Del Rio. He lost.
Where'd that come from?
Well, I don't know. We were talking about coaches that got fired, but still built their way back up to be head coaches again.
Yeah, true.
So, I really think, I think Josh McDaniels on the Raiders could be a one and done. What do you think?
Yeah, they're looking. It seems like in the first half they played very well. And everything looks great. Yeah. And I don't know what happened in the second half. It's like every week they fall on their face. Devontae Adams, guy we talk about every week, it seems like. He was killing it the first half. He had 10 catches, 2 touchdowns, over 140 yards. But he didn't do anything in the second half. I'm like, what happened? Forgot throwing the ball? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
I've seen a few games like that from the Raiders. Where they've really played well in the first half, and then the second half they collapse and lose the game. There was another game that was quite notable thing in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not able to make adjustments at halftime or something. I don't know, but it seems like they just or they think they have that in the bag, and they come in the second half and they just forget how to play or something. Dan doesn't know what he loved pounding the ball, but Jacobs not getting the ball anymore. And then Adams caught a little bit, but not getting the ball because he was sick last week and he tried to play, but this week, they were targeting him like crazy the first couple of drives, and he was killing it. I mean, they couldn't stop him, and then all of a sudden they just stopped throwing to him. Doesn't make sometimes you overthink things. I think McDaniel's pretty well known for doing that. He continues to prove he does that every.
All right, we should move on before
the guy yells at us.
The guy yells at us. Yeah. So Jeff Wilson, he played more snaps than Mostert. He just joined the team, and he's getting more snaps than Mostert. How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, he looked better than Mostert, and I mean, he's familiar with the offense, being with McDaniel and Cisco. It's kind of an easy transition. I think the verbiage is the same, so it wouldn't be that much of a hard sell to get him right back on the field. And he looked awesome. I mean, he looked imposing out there, and he caught a nice touchdown. And I think that's going to be a timeshare. I have most.
Yeah, when I say Wilson played more snaps, it was only. I mean, we're talking statistically here. We're not talking like a wide difference. But
right,
still,
like you said, he just got on the team. He's ready.
Yeah,
he's ready taking over the timeshare there. So that's not a good sign for most owners themselves. But I think we're looking at kind of a timeshare, maybe a hot hand approach to the backfield. I mean, who knows? I mean, that's something we got to watch over this couple of weeks, see what happens.
When it comes to Miami, it's all about Waddle and Hill, though, really, isn't it?
Yeah, they run the ball here and there once in a while.
Yeah, but it's those guys. It's those guys, those downfielders that are making the noise.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, they're both playing fantastic, as is Tua.
Yeah, another 300 yards, 3 touchdowns for Tua. Yeah. Man, he's just, who would have thought it, I mean, plus he left a lot of plays out there, too. I mean, he underthrew a couple long passes where Hill and Water were open. They didn't get it to him, but, the successes weigh out the failures on that one, obviously.
Oh, yeah, way much, especially as a fired-up Bears team that day. So it was a great game, though. I mean, fantastic game.
Yeah, it was.
Soldier Field.
Yeah, Justin Fields, holy crap. Yeah, he's right in the middle of the – I mean, I think he was a quarterback 3 over the last 3 weeks or so, and finally they unleashed him and let him play the way he wants to play, and he's looking phenomenal. I mean, it's nice to see.
Eberflus finally got the memo. It's true. I mean, it's true.
Someone had tell him.
Other snap count news here. I guess we got to talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs. Well, their committee is just awful. I mean, Jerick McKinnon led the backfield with 62%, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire was actually last after Pacheco. But, this really isn't a very impactful fantasy backfield at all because of it, this share, to me.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's like interchangeable parts that it's frustrating for if you own one of those running backs. I mean, I think a lot of that yesterday was a lot of game script dependent because they couldn't run the ball at all against the Titans. I mean, I think they probably averaged less than a yard per carry. I didn't look it up, but I'm guessing because they didn't do anything against them. Maybe that's why McKinnon played a lot more. He's more of the passing down back, and Mahomes is just winging it in every play, and hopefully he didn't get sacked. I mean, he threw like 62 or 68, I think, passes yesterday. So, I mean, that's what they were doing because, they couldn't run it. So just start winging it to anybody they could find to throw to. And McKinney had a couple of catches, and my boy Juju had 10 catches. So, I mean, the running game is kind of non-existent.
I remember in the banter between Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth, they were talking about how Juju is sort of getting he's getting the idea of from watching Travis Kelce about the kind of ways to get open that Travis Kelce does. So he's sort of mimicking a bit of, I guess he's trying to lure Mahomes almost like a fish. Like, here, look, here, I can catch. You can catch me and I can catch you. So I'm open. So I think he's figuring it out, which is, that's pretty good.
Injury. He's been playing well the last couple of weeks.
That's right.
Injury.
Aaron Jones. But the test came back negative on his ankle. So, I noticed, as I was putting in the, waiver wires, that's something we're going to do. Oh, and also I want to mention that coming up, we do have Peng's picks this week. So, look forward to that after we get through the quarterbacks and running backs and the waivers. But we're still not finished the news.
Hurry up.
He's going to yell at us. Josh Allen, the team's not too concerned about his elbow soreness, but I think that's a day-to-day thing. I don't know. Put some ice on, it'll be all right, maybe.
I hope so. Yeah, if he's not out there, they're going to be in trouble, obviously. So hopefully he's okay. But yeah, I mean, he's still through. I don't know if you were watching the game, but you can tell that play that he got hurt on, and he did the next pass, like 70-some yards. So I'm not, the one he threw to Davis is like happened right before that, injury. And, like he got that zip on the ball, just Davis freaking dropped. But still, I think hopefully he'll be okay.
Big effort by the Jets there to win, man.
They looked awesome. Yeah. And Josh Allen has been playing well the last couple of weeks. He's throwing some stupid interceptions. He doesn't have a touch or forcing the ball too much. It just, it's kind of like, got the Aaron Rodgers syndrome over there. What happened to Aaron Rodgers?
A little bit. Crap. Oh, that's another subject that we can get into.
Oh, yeah, we could do that on.
We will get into that. Actually, we should have gotten into that when we were talking about Aaron Jones. Right. And let's talk about the Packers for a minute. Those interceptions, the very red zone interceptions by Aaron Rodgers. It's just something you don't see. And these weren't his receivers tipping the ball and it going into the arms of others. This was like things bouncing off somebody's helmet, off an opposition player helmet, and it's bouncing off their helmet and into the arms of a defender,
Right, exactly. They had that one. One he had the tackle wide open for a touch, for the touchdown, and he underthrew it. I mean, it was not even close to getting to him. He's wide open in the end zone, and two pathways that obviously stuck out more than anything else, but they were not all on Rodgers. And it seems like Rodgers doesn't take ownership of his own mistakes, which is kind of sad for him. But hopefully he gets it rectified because if Aaron Jones isn't playing, I mean, say the tests are negative, but you never know what's going to happen. They may start swelling up, and they may have to put Dylan out there for a week or so. And Dylan doesn't look that great. Jones is that whole offense right now. I mean,
he is.
I mean, because Rodgers has no weapon. I mean, Lazard looks okay. He's pretty. I'm glad he came back because he's a serviceable weapon for Rodgers.
I think Romeo Doubs is hurt and he might be out now.
Yeah, high ankle sprain I saw last.
That's right. So that kind of leaves Christian Watson to start, I guess Sammy Watkins is out there now. So too.
Yeah, Watkins looks horrible.
He's not very good.
Can't get open and save his life.
And I think there's still. Christian Watson is probably okay, but he's a slow. He's a slow grower. Right. I think he's one of those guys that you kind of have to wait on and wait and see. He's still wait and see. I mean, he's coming off injuries himself. He's missed a few weeks here and there, so he's not. Right. I still consider him kind of banged up too.
I agree. Yep.
So but I bet in fairness to the Detroit defense, I mean they ranked the bottom, but I don't think it was the Detroit defense really didn't help Rodgers. I mean, they kind of stepped up for this game. I think they always step up for the Packers for some reason. Detroit does.
Yeah, they do. But like you were saying, Rodgers left a lot of plays on the field where they should have had those 2 touchdowns instead of interceptions. That's the ballgame. There it is. And we only scored 9 points against a team that averages giving up over 32 points a game. That isn't if I'm the Packers offense, I'd be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm. But I just like to say that because I don't like to take too much. I don't want to take anything away from Detroit stepping up for the game, which they did. I mean, that's. I mean, granted, like Rodgers was throwing and they were tipping the ball and they were. Well, I mean, it's not their doing that. They had their helmet in the way of a Rodgers pass.
Right.
But but there was still. I mean, apart from that, I mean, between the 20s, the Detroit were they were putting a lot of effort. They really wanted this game, and I think. There's a little bit of pride, I think, with defenses. I think we saw this with the Saints defense against the Raiders the other week. The Saints kind of got poo-pooed about their defense, and they said, well, we don't like being talked about like that. So they stepped up and put up a shutout, and that's good. Right. And I mean, you can always point to the other team and say, well, you got to give credit where credit is due. And I think that Detroit does deserve some credit for that win.
Yeah, some, I guess. I mean, yeah, another good example of that is the Browns on Monday night when we were recording. I was talking about a little bit before the podcast that I didn't want to see what's going on with the game because I wanted to watch it in entirety. And I turned it on and I'm like, holy crap, the Browns are kicking butt. And they were killing the Bengals. And it was so. The Bears said it. The Bengals were embarrassed and they came out and they ass went on the Panthers yesterday. They Mixon freaking going nuts and it just couldn't be stopped. And they had to sit Walker because Walker looked like crap. Mayfield actually threw 2 touchdowns.
The Browns did that. The Browns did that on Monday. Hey, you can say that was right. That was the Browns that caused that.
Right, exactly. That's something to be proud of this season. Well, besides Chubb, Yeah.
Besides Chubb. Okay. Other news coming up. Odell Beckham interest is growing with the Cowboys about bringing in Odell Beckham. It was funny. This topic came up on game day morning, on with how and Michael Irvin's on that is on the set with the team with I don't know if you watch that show.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
So anyways, so the panel there is they're all looking at. They all turn their heads towards. Well, Michael, what do you think of this Odell Beckham? And he wasn't gonna budge on this issue. He was not gonna say either way about how he felt about it. I was waiting too. My arms are folded. Okay, Michael Irvin, what do you think about this Odell Beckham coming to the Cowboys? And all Michael Irvin did was basically smile and dodge the question. He was like, he did not want to answer that. Huh?
Wow, I'm surprised. Why would he want to answer that?
Because I'll tell you why he doesn't want to. Because he doesn't want to say that the Cowboys shouldn't bother.
No,
he doesn't. He doesn't want to say anything very He doesn't want to say anything that'll upset Jones. I guess I don't know. But he didn't want to. But I was interested. My arms were full. They're okay. Let's hear it. I was interested to hear it, but nope. And I kind of knew he wasn't going to say anything. I just knew he was going to dodge the question. But bottom line is for me, Odell Beckham to the Cowboys is not recommended. I would say it would be a bad move to get Odell Beckham at this point, the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure why. More of a PR move than it is the
It is. That's all it is. That's all it is.
You should go to the Rams or somewhere else, But
Rams could use him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was there. He won a Super Bowl with them, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why they just dropped him. He showed that there is gas in the tank there.
Absolutely. Yeah, he looked great. He was, until he got hurt in the Super Bowl, he was, people were concerned. I mean, the defense was concerned about what Beckham was doing. That's a sign right there, obviously, that he still made an impact on, for opposing defense to key on him. I mean, obviously, you got to key on Cup, but, you got to worry about Beckham too. So they They laid eyes on him, and he was still producing, and he got hurt, unfortunately. But he got his ring, and I'm surprised the Rams don't go a little more heavily to target him, when he gets back. But I'm kind of getting annoyed by all the news of Beckham all the time. It seems like every week it's now this team's looking at him, now the Packers are looking at him, not the Bills are looking at him. Like, just freaking sign with somebody. Jeez,
yeah.
Stop pointing at me. He just likes to hear his name in the news, I guess. So,
Maybe.
Okay,
let's move on because we got to get going on this show. Eli Mitchell elevated from IR. And I kind of feel sorry for people who have had Eli Mitchell in their IR slot for all this time, and then he comes out, and there's Christian McCaffrey there.
Right. Yeah, now what do you do with this?
So now what do you do? What do we do with this? Or what do we do? I mean, I guess you would say he was the de facto number one running back, and how does he fit now?
I don't know. Does he fit? He's like, the backup, and that's about it. CMC's going to get the ball a ton. There's a lot of moving parts. I saw somewhere that Debo's practicing again, so you had another weapon to the offense.
Yeah.
And now you had Mitchell too. That's just a lot of moving parts in that offense. How do you trust that anyone in that offense? Obviously you're going to trust CMC, but beyond that, even Debo's going to take a hit with his value because CMC is going to be heavily targeted, heavily utilized. And where's that leave Mitchell? I'm not sure.
I'd probably on the outside looking in, relief back.
Handcuff. It's about handcuff to CMC.
That's about it. And probably just relief duties, where he gets one series to rest McCaffrey, and then that's it.
Right. Yeah, maybe.
And all teams do with their extra running back.
Right.
Okay. So
Show today is crowded, so we must move quick.
Yes, we do. It's bound to happen. Because we haven't been moving very quick. All right. Let's get into the Fantasy Pros Week 10. Quarterbacks that we want. Last week, of course, was Justin Fields. And this week, number one, Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Not surprised. Yeah. I'm not surprised. There's not many good options, really. And Daniel Jones, before the bye week, he looked pretty awful in Week 8 against the Seahawks. He didn't do very well. But the saving grace maybe for him is that this week he takes on the Houston Texans. So that's something you consider if you need, if your quarterback's on a bye this week, it's someone to pick up. If you got Lamar or Burrow on a bye, it's definitely well enough to fit in for 1 week and then, dump him after that. But not much more than that right now. He looked great for a while, but maybe the Seahawks defense showed him something. But playing against Houston, he should do very well.
Yeah. Who I think is, even in a losing effort, and I mentioned it in the blurb view, I thought that you could actually, I'm not sure what, I'm not sure what Taylor Heineke got in his game, but I recommended him, Taylor Heineke.
Right.
Where do I have him here? In rest of season, I have him as number 24. So what did he do? He only got 149 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Scored you 15 fantasy points. That's not bad. I guess, I would put, who are they playing though? Who are they playing this week for week 10? Taylor Heineke. At Philadelphia. No.
No.
No, you can't. You can't. Okay, I can see why he's not on this list. But,
right.
But also in the cricket department is Marcus Mariota. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. I like Jimmy G. I'd rather have Jimmy G than... Actually, I would actually put Jimmy G ahead of these other guys. With the talent around him and what CMC's added to the offense, very explosive, and the Debo hopefully coming back. I think I'd take a shot. They're playing the Chargers this week, so I'd take my chance with Jimmy G over, even Daniel Jones right now, because he's gonna get the ball out to his weapons, let him do what they do, and Kittle's playing well, so I would take the chance with Jimmy G.
Yeah. They still got these stashaholics at Fantasy Pro still have Deshaun Watson here. I mean, the next 3 games, like they've got the Bills in there at Cleveland. It's not an easy schedule coming up. I mean, Deshaun Watson. Let's see what it is. I'm gonna see what I remember looking at it. It's pretty tough. Yeah, they were coming off the bye and they're gonna be playing Miami. Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Buffalo. He doesn't come back to week 13, so the Browns have got to have some sort of decent record by then. So they got to beat Miami. That's not going to happen. Not going to beat Buffalo and Tampa Bay. Yeah, well, I think they can beat Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and the way they're playing, you never. I don't know. They just comeback win. Yeah, maybe that
was a nice comeback.
Catapult them to start playing winning football again, because that was an emotional win for them.
That was an emotional win. Did you see how happy Tom Brady was?
Oh yeah, he was ecstatic. Holy crap! He just won the Super Bowl.
It's just like he'd never done that before in his life, and he's done. But this one, he's done it so many times, and it should be ho hum. But this one really meant so. This one really meant something to him. This particular comeback win, it really meant something to him. I was glad. I was happy for him because, things haven't been going right, and maybe we can hope something like that can happen for Aaron Rodgers too.
He needs it.
He needs a bit of a injection of joy. Yeah, but these are the 3 games before Watson. Watson's supposed to come back for the Houston game, which is in week 13, and I don't see the point of them bringing Deshaun Watson and having him a chance of injury. Then all bets are off for 2023.
Right. That's what I think too. Yeah, that's why the only time I even selected Watson going into the season was in best ball drafts, and just because if he does come back, and obviously I'm doing those drafts before the season even started, and even after the announcement of suspension, if he does come back and plays a couple great games, great. I got a couple great games out of him at the end of the year, but the season long leagues I didn't even touch. I don't want them. And like you said, the schedule, by the time they get to that, I mean, right now, they may probably lose against Miami, Buffalo. They're going to lose Tampa Bay. Let's say they pull out a win out of there. What? Still, I mean, Texans, they should win. Even with Brissett there, they can win. And who knows what happens. I mean, they got Cincinnati, then Baltimore. Those are going to be tough matchups, no matter who's that quarterback. So, and he hasn't played in 2 years, so I'm not sure what he's going to do, if anything.
And to round out the list, Andy Dalton. We don't talk the Saints. They're playing right now, they're playing right now, so can't really say either way of whether Andy Dalton is hot or not. But I guess he's a buy, Phil. That's another thing. I must mention the buys this week for Week 10. It is the Ravens, it is the Bengals, it is the Patriots, and it is the Jets. So those are the 4 teams off. The Ravens, Bengals, Patriots, and Jets. So right after this Monday night game, Baltimore Ravens are off, and the Patriots and Jets. The Jets, after that big win, they go into. I think that's probably good for the Jets because a big emotional win, they might have a letdown, so it kind of gives them a week to let things,
They get to even keel, because they're sky high after that huge win, and yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, Robert Saleh is a good coach, so hopefully, he can keep the momentum. And Garrett Wilson's looking great out there. He's playing very well. Zach Wilson's still not, but that defense is playing amazing. So they should carry him for a while.
Right, and no Bengals after that spectacular 5-touchdown game by none other than Joe Mixon. So I think people were kind of waiting for Mixon to break out. He hadn't a long way to go, but I think that's something that kind of ties in with what we're going to be talking about. Is now we already talked about it. The news about the Jeff Wilson coming to the Dolphins and playing more snaps, statistically more snaps. I'm just saying that Mostert didn't. You're splitting hairs here, but it was basically the same. You would see them mostly on the same side, same on the field. I'm not sure who did much more than the other, but I think Jeff Wilson, if he's under 50, that's the other thing. Fantasy Pros, if they're under 50%, that's how they make the list here. If they're under 50% owned, that's how it's the line that they make, which is fair, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Wilson was, once the 49ers grabbed CMC, that Wilson was kind of like an afterthought, so a lot of people probably dropped him, and now he's traded. Now he looks like he's, he could be, a monster in Miami, especially if Mostert ever gets hurt. Mostert always seems to get hurt. Yeah. And Wilson gets the lion's share of the carries. I mean, he could be a difference maker for your fantasy team, so he should be the top priority this week.
Yeah. They both had the same amount of carries, except Mostert wasn't as efficient. He had 9 fantasy points, but he scored a touchdown too. Finished RB 20 in half PPR. And I will just quickly get Jeff Wilson. I'm going to have to change this too. That he finished RB 9. He had 9 carries and 51. So he had twice as much yardage as Mostert. But I don't know. You could say Mostert had a bad day, but I think this is going to be a very, very equal split backfield going on here.
Yeah, I agree.
From here on in. So it won't be like James Conner and Eno Benjamin. I think James Conner is definitely it's more like 2 carries for everyone, for every, 2/3 of the time you'll see James Conner out there than Eno Benjamin, whereas this is more closer to 50% backfield, just for perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm just fixing my rest of the season as I look at that. I usually don't start that until Tuesday after the Monday night game, but now that we're talking about it, might as well do it while I'm in it. So who else should we talk about on this list, Dennis?
Yeah, your buddy, Rashid White, we talk about every week.
Yeah, we do. He's always on the list.
He's always on there, and I'm not sure why, fantasy managers don't pick him up. I mean, he's probably one of the best handcuffs right now in fantasy football, and Fournette's not looking good at all. I mean, he just has like 62 rushing yards over the last 3 weeks, and White is getting a lot more play every week, and he keeps increasing his value. And I think, as an upside play to have on stashing your roster, I would definitely grab White. I mean, Wilson first, and probably I would definitely go White second overall. I mean, and regardless of position.
I would. He's been unavailable in any of the leagues I'm in for weeks.
Me too. Right. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of surprised he's been on the list. But but I mean, obviously there's some leagues somehow he's available. But if he is in yours, grab him.
Yeah. Next on the list is Gus Edwards. He got hurt, did he not?
Yeah, he did. But I think what I'm hearing is that he hurt his hamstring. But
he's off. So he's off tonight. He was inactive tonight.
Yeah, he's inactive. Plus they got a bye week, like you mentioned. So I think after the bye week, he should be back. So, I mean, if he's available, somehow someone dropped him, I would pick him up because I think he's healthy enough to get back on there. And, Kenny Drake is serviceable, but he's not dynamic. And I think Edwards can be a little more of a difference maker in that offense.
I don't like Pacheco at RB4.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I'd rather have Murray, who's at RB5. I'd rather put him ahead of Pacheco. Pacheco can go ahead of Hubbard because I think Foreman is really the key there. Although I don't know what Foreman did. He mustn't have been too terribly great.
No.
There was a lot of...
He did.
There was a lot of garbage time fantasy points that the Panthers got, but I don't think Foreman was too much involved because he only got.
They took him out because they were getting destroyed, so they. Yeah. He didn't play that much, the second half especially. So they had their the Blackshear, I think his name is. He was out there. Right. He got some run out there, and he was doing more of it. The problem I think with Foreman too is that he's kind of game script dependent. If they're close games, he'll do well. I mean, he should do well this week. I mean, they're playing Atlanta again. Yeah. So he should do well, and that should be a close game, and he'll get the ball a lot more there versus getting a bucket like he did in Cincinnati. But and one thing I want to mention about Murray that I worry about kind of quick is I think with the addition of Chase Edmonds, that's going to hurt Murray a little bit because I think Murray and Gordon will split the rushing duties, and then Edmonds will be the pass catching back there. So I think now it's even more divided backfield, which obviously hurts Murray, hurts all three of them. No one's going to take Edmonds, but if you're a Gordon or a Murray owner, you have to be a little bit worried because then they split the ball even more, which is kind of scary.
We can, look at the Chiefs, right? And then, but the Chiefs at least have, I don't know. Seems like Denver will probably have to rely on the ground a little bit more. But again, these three-headed backfields like we see on the Chiefs and I don't know, a couple of other teams. It's just doesn't do much for fantasy. But looking forward to in this. This is actually kind of bookend games with Falcons, isn't it? He was 118 yards against Tampa Bay. He got 118 yards against the Falcons. So here are the Falcons again. Yeah, fire him up, fire up Foreman. Hubbard, yeah, I guess you can pick him up if you got room.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do, if anything. But
Yeah.
one player that's kind of... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, finish your thought.
I think a player that kind of surprises me that's on here is Cam Akers. For someone that was very well thought of and, comeback of player, the coming into the season, he's obviously gotten hard times with the Rams, and he didn't play that much in the game last night.
No.
I mean, he's eighth on here, and that whole offense was kind of out of sync, and the running game is not existent. So I'm not even sure I would even worry about getting Akers right now.
No, I think you're just getting Akers. Akers is kind of like hope he returns to form that we were seeing, back in what? I guess it's 2020 now.
Scary,
so,
right?
I know. I mean, you can't really. It's very hard to trust a player like that. But then funny things happen. And sandwiched in between Hubbard, we got, as usual, we always see Madison should be owned more than 50%.
Yeah, I agree.
He's a solid handcuff. Especially Cook owners should have this guy.
Yeah. Especially now as you head toward
you're rolling
the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to take the chance of Cook getting hurt. And Madison could be a league winner for someone if Cook ever gets hurt and Madison
right.
steps in there. That doesn't make sense.
So Madison should be. I don't mind Madison being at RB7, but I do mind that he's under 50% owned. I mean, he should be.
Right.
He shouldn't be on this list. He should be owned. Right. So moving right along, Kyron Williams. You see, here's another Ram here that we don't know. And the offense is just, it's really awful, apart from Kupp. I mean, you really got, I mean, even Kupp is starting to feel the effects of this bad offense now.
Yeah, he's getting beat up.
Yeah.
He's taking a licking out there. I mean, the offensive line's horrible, so Stafford doesn't have much time to get the ball to them. And all they're doing is looking for Kupp, and then if Kupp happens to be triple covered or something, they don't throw to him, and then they give it to Robinson maybe, if he can catch the ball. And the running game is not even there. I mean, and even Henderson. I mean, Henderson had a couple of good runs last night, and they don't give him the ball enough, I don't think. And maybe that's they don't trust him for whatever reason, but I wouldn't trust Akers or Williams, picking them up now, wasting a roster spot on any of those guys right now.
I still find it hard to believe that Kupp still managed WR3 this week. in that game. A game like that, he still got 127 yards. His fifth 100-plus yard game of the season. In a game...
He had a long bomb.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and he got a touchdown again.
Right.
So, I mean, so he still finished the WR3 somehow. So Kupp is matchup independent, and he's obviously, it doesn't matter how bad this offense is, Kupp still comes through with his fantasy numbers, which is all that matters, really, in fantasy, really. I mean,
right.
But this offense, if it gets any worse, it could start affecting Kupp, as I was about to say. So keep your eyes on that. But Kupp is still strong. Kupp is still very, very strong. He's very relevant, obviously. Then we got down to these other names here. Dennis near the bottom. We got Gainwell, Dontrell Hilliard, James Cook. Kylan Hill is in here because of the Aaron Jones uncertainties, perhaps. And finally, do you like anybody down here at the bottom that?
No. The only person I would even consider it would be Hilliard, just because only if I'm a Henry owner, just to have his backup to handcuff him. But Cook, I did like him a lot, but now getting Hines in that backfield, they have too many parts there now.
That's a weird thing. How much did Hines play? Did he play any?
He played very little. He didn't play much at all.
Right.
I think he had maybe one touch of the ball. I think that was it. But that's gonna change. I mean, Cook's gonna be kind of, I would say, irrelevant, but he's not gonna be someone you want.
He's just a handcuff to Singletary, really.
Right. Agreed.
I mean, well, I don't know. It was starting to look like he would have standalone value, but I don't know. I think, well, depending on, I don't know if Josh Allen might use the short pass with Hines. I don't know. It's that's the thing with Hines and Allen. That's sort of a wait and see thing. But you're kind of right. James Cook has lost a little bit of shine because of that acquisition.
Right.
So, and with that, it's time to get on with Peng's picks because we're running out of things to talk about. But thanks to the power of the internet, we can talk to. Well, we can just with one click, we can hear what Peng has to say.
Peng's Picks with Davis Peng.
Hey everybody, this is Davis Peng, writer for Fantasy Six Pack, and this is my Peng's Picks takes for Week 10. And that main takeaway, guys, is to remind everybody that newer isn't always better. Do not get sucked into these narratives. Do not get sucked into drafting, trading for, or buying players that just aren't that great or haven't proven to be great. And that's probably a better way to word it. So I just want to give some examples of people where they got drafted, people who are trading for these narratives for these players. So let's start with Michael Pittman. I know I've talked about him in the past. I drafted as wide receiver 10 and wide receiver 11 on the season. Currently has 6 finishes as wide receiver 40 and later. And you could say, hey, well, that's a Sam Ehlinger problem, Davis. And I would tell you, you're wrong, because Sam Ehlinger only played 2 games. So that only counts for 2 of his 6 games. And what about the other 4 bad games he's had? So and the narrative for him just wasn't good. It was just Matt Ryan is coming there and will make him the next Julio Jones. No, that's not how that works. A quarterback doesn't make you the next receiver. You have to be a good receiver with a pretty good quarterback. Matt Ryan was running his downhill, and Michael Pittman only had 1 good season in his career with his rookie year being pretty forgettable, if he was forgot. And then Amon-Ra, a guy that had a very mediocre season, had a strong finish last year with a quarterback that wasn't the guy that gave him his breakout game. It wasn't with Jared Goff. And people thought he was going to come in and be this, high-end wide receiver too. Right now, he has 6 games with 10 points or less in half PPR formats. And, one of the games that he got injured in, so he was 5 games with 10 points or less. And I don't know about you, that does not scream upside to me or wide receiver 2 number. Brian Robinson was a guy that came into the season that was supposed to take Antonio Gibson's job. Not because Antonio Gibson's in his 30s, not because Antonio Gibson's actually bad at football, but because he is not as new as the guy they drafted in the end of the 3rd round. DeAndre Hopkins came into the season with the narrative that he was washed, that he wasn't going to be that great because of his injury issues he had last year and possibly popping on, player enhancement, but comes in and has 2 100+ yard games and was drafted at ADP 93. Derrick Henry, a guy that would unanimously in half PPR standard would get drafted in the top 5 or top 6 players, was drafted at the end of the 1st round. Like I said, guys, just these narratives, the consistency things, we gotta look at them year in, year out. Do not let other people's opinions and biasness to sell a new person take away from what's been good. And now I understand players do get old, and obviously this. You've been playing fantasy for quite some time, I would assume. And that, yeah, sure, a running back in his 30s, I would probably not draft coming off an injury. But Derrick Henry is already not in his 30s. Derrick Henry has less tread than most running backs at his current age. DeAndre Hopkins has consistently been great. So, but both these guys were being drafted later than the average new player coming in. So, like I said, main takeaway, don't let these narratives get to you. Draft consistency and use that as of right now to trade for players that are consistent for your fantasy playoff. So other than that, you guys have a great week. See you guys for next week at week 11.
All right, a few things to unpack there. He's talking about Pittman and Robinson and Amon-Ra, who aren't, who really didn't have especially Pittman. Goodness sake. I would say that he's pretty right about it, but there is some things that, a lot of people, like Michael Thomas had some stripe with him, but he got injured again. But we won't really know if Michael Thomas was going to be good again. So, DeAndre Hopkins came back and he was just no rust, no nothing, strong.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with him on the Michael Pittman thing. Pittman looked very good last year. He had over 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. He just started to come into his own. I think he's dealt with some injury issues this year, and obviously some not so good quarterback play. And I think he maybe needs to rest a little bit, but I still would. If someone's selling Pittman right now, I would consider buying low on Pittman if he was available. I think we're selling a little too short now.
But Brian Robinson, let's see, you stuck him in your IR, you stashed him away, and he's come out, and there's been really, to tell you the truth, you're still better off with Antonio Gibson, really. What's the diff?
I agree. Right, I agree. Robinson's, he looked great in camp, and, unfortunately he had that incident where he was shot, and it was a feel-good story that he came back, but he has not produced on the field, and Gibson's actually, set up his game, and he looked a lot more explosive, and he should be more the bell cow there in Washington than Robinson. Robinson's like you should just stick to being a show yardage, goal line back. Gibson does everything else.
Yeah, I'm a bit divided on Amon-Ra. I mean, he's been sort of banged up this year. He's sort of been playing hurt. And what did he do? He got 9 targets. He only caught 4 of his. I mean, he's got to catch a few more balls. 4 of 9 for 55 yards. Scoreless yard. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 2. So I sort of agree and sort of not. I still think there's potential for Amon-Ra. But I just don't think there's the same potential, especially with the firing of the coach and all the mess that's going on with Indianapolis. I can definitely agree that Pittman is not a guy that's in a good situation right now. But Amon-Ra's situation is far better.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, they're going to get a higher draft pick coming this year, and if they get a star quarterback that can walk right in there and make that offense tick, I mean, they got weapons in their offense with, Swift, and if he's stay healthy, and St. Brown. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential there. They need a quarterback to unlock, and Goff is so erratic that it's hard to lay any trust in him.
I think that one of the reasons why people weren't drafting DeAndre Hopkins early, I mean, you knew that he was out for half the season. You gotta have a solid replacement for DeAndre Hopkins to make up for all that lost time. I mean, yeah, sure, he's great to have, but I mean, for the first half of the season, he's missing for 8 games. He only came back in like week 8. So I mean, there's a lot of fantasy games that you need to cover. Right. You can't draft him that early. I mean, you know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, but look how dominant he is right now.
Oh yeah, he's dominant now. I mean, it's great if you stashed him, if you can afford.
Right.
But I mean, you're kind of putting. You gotta have a pretty good team to draft someone like that quite early. You got to be quite draft savvy. But it's food for thought. It's food for thought whether we should, hold on to a player. But it's kind of hard to draft early a player that's not going to be active for the first 7 games of the season. First 8 games of the season, right? So, anyway, we must move along. Because
I don't want to get yelled at again.
Don't want to get yelled at. Let's start off with the wide receivers since we're talking about. And Dennis, well, I'll let you take it from the top.
Yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson's number 1 on this list, and I kind of would be nervous to have him as our number 1 pick of receivers right now. I mean, he's getting the ball, and he's a great matchup in Week 10 against Houston, like we talked about with Daniel Jones, but I'd be concerned about taking him. I'd rather have Darius Slayton than Wan'Dale Robinson as a Giant if I'm picking a receiver. And I think the second guy on the list, McCole Hardman, I would definitely want to have him first over Robinson.
Yeah.
But Hardman's becoming more of a weapon, kind of turning into the Tyreek Hill role. Yeah. Definitely not at his level, but
I know what you're
he's
saying.
Turning into that role. He's getting those kind of touches. I'd rather have that than have Robinson, who's kind of playing second fiddle to Daniel Jones. To Darius Slayton with Daniel Jones. And I think I would, if I was desperate receiver, would I pick up Wan'Dale Robinson?
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with you. It's good that you say McCole Hardman taking the Tyreek Hill role, than rather than saying, because nobody can be. You can't be Tyreek Hill.
No way.
No, right now.
Way.
I mean, Tyreek Hill.
That's why I had to specify role before.
Yes, you did. I know.
You and others.
No, even if you didn't say it, I'd know what you meant because we all know that Tyreek Hill is untouchable. And you know something? I'm not selling Jalen Waddle short on that offense either, man. That guy's got his own talent in his own right there.
Right, they're both studs. Right? I mean, if you're smart enough to draft those guys, and even if you drafted both of them somehow, I mean, you'd still be golden right now because they're dominant out there. And Tua's playing phenomenal, and we got to give them credit. They're playing above everyone else right now.
Yeah, they're awesome. The next two, Michael Gallup and Terrace Marshall. But Michael Gallup's on Dallas. I think his time is coming. He's just. They were off this week. He had a little extra rest. They didn't give him too much run in his first game back before the bye. So, or was it his second? It might have been his second game back, but
second game back. Yeah.
So he's had a little bit of extra bye week to sort of get up to speed with things. So I think Gallup's if he's available, you got to have him right now.
I'm surprised he'd be even available a lot of these because unless people just dropped him because they got tired of waiting for him to do anything, and when he did come back, he didn't do anything. So But like you said, coming back from the bye, have another week, and then practicing more with Prescott. Prescott will get better. He'll have his timing, more with a whole week of practice. I think Gallup. I really have. If I'm doing this now, I think I'd go Harmon 1 and Gallup 2.
Yeah.
Robinson would definitely not be in my top 3.
No.
I think next guy on the list, Terrace Marshall, would be my third guy.
Terrace Marshall, interesting pickup. I have him in Scott Fish. I picked him up.
Yeah.
I just picked him up off the shelf. He was just sitting there, so I'll pick him up. And I started him, too, and he scored.
There you go. They're smart. Yeah, he scored. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I worry about that is, the quarterback situation there. But, he succeeded with, he caught a pass from both those guys now. So, and he's improving. He's getting a lot of targets.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of snaps now. So he's part of that offense that he should benefit, especially, this week he's playing against Atlanta. He should do well again against them. So, he's definitely worth a pick, especially if you're looking at someone just do bye weeks only.
Mm-hmm. I want to just say a caveat about Terrace Marshall, though. I mean, the touchdown he got was, it was in the garbage time period.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, hey, you know what? They all count. So
they all count. Yeah.
They all count the same. Yeah. But yeah, you got to take that into account that it was garbage time. But he did score the previous week. He did. The last couple of weeks, he's done very well. So
yeah,
he's someone definitely worth the look.
I think he's definitely worth it. I would put him. I'd put him in the top 3. Yeah, Wandale Robinson. What's he doing there? Like you say, I'd rather have Slayton.
Yeah, me too. I'm not sure why.
I mean, and it's kind of weird to say that because Slayton was kind of a guy that was. If I remember correctly, he wasn't a lock to make the 53 on the Giants, and he was very close to being dropped from the team. So, and now look at him. He's just goes to show you when lights a fire on you when you.
Right, I agree. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I know that Jones has a chemistry with him. I mean,
he does.
He has six targets the last couple of weeks. And I was looking at the schedule after Houston. They go against Detroit. Yeah. So I mean, that should be 2 weeks of some offensive firepower games that you take advantage of with Slayton over Robinson.
Yeah,
and a couple of these guys in the list.
Completely agree that Slayton should be higher. Actually, swap places with put Wandale where Slayton is at WR12 and put Slayton close. Maybe not at the top, but put him like somewhere, maybe interchangeably with Terrace Marshall in there. What are we thinking about Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Donovan Peoples? I like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like him a lot, but darn it, he's with the wrong he is okay. He is quarterback dependent. I mean, but this guy can haul in the long ball. I like he looks like a good receiver that just needs something. I don't know what he needs, but I like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I like him a lot. But he's just not. He's just close, but he's just not there. I don't like Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Not with Kadarius Toney coming in. Why is he?
Especially with him.
Yeah. Why is he at WR5? He should be down too. He's kind of like Wandale Robinson. Put him. He's no great shit.
Yeah, I mean he's had like maybe 2 good weeks all year, and he's not gonna. And that yesterday he only had 1 catch, 12 yards. Mm-hmm. And Mahomes, threw the ball, 68 times, and he targeted MBS once. And that just shows you right there that he shouldn't be someone you even look at. I mean, but Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's kind of growing. I mean, as a fantasy contributor, Brissett likes him, and he's getting targeted last couple of weeks. Let's see what the bye week does. Hopefully, they continue to target him, and they're playing Miami this week. So, soon the Miami's going to have with their firepower that the Browns will be trailing, so they should be able to throw the ball a little more. But they're probably going to try to keep away from the Miami offense and just pound the ball with Chubb and Hunt. But we'll see.
Yeah, here we have another guy too. This guy's a good pickup. I mean, what with he finished? I mean, he didn't finish too great. I mean, he finished at WR27, but in fantasy, that's a good flex play, and that's DeAndre Carter.
Yeah.
I see down the list here. Definitely worth a guy. Definitely worth picking up. I would put him. I would put him ahead of. Who is on this list? I would put him ahead of Beckham. Beckham's on this list. You know what? Beckham's on this list. What do you think? Would you pick him up?
If I had one roster spot that was, I don't know. I don't think I would, because obviously we don't know where he's going yet, and I like a lot of these other options on here. Like we talked about Harmon, Gallup, Marshall, even Donovan Peoples-Jones, I really have over Beckham.
Yep.
Even Daniel Carter, like you just mentioned, he's a good pickup. I mean, him and Josh Palmer look pretty good out there at the wideouts.
Yep.
Who knows what Keenan Allen's going to come back, because that he's still having issues with that hamstring.
Yeah.
Mike Williams will be coming back eventually, but right now Carter and Palmer look pretty good on as the wideouts, and he got a lot of targets. So I really have. If I need help now, I'm grabbing Carter. If I'm to try to stash someone, I guess I grab Beckham, but he'd definitely be behind all these other guys.
Yeah, Palmer's definitely coming into his own 100-yard game. His first 100-yard game of the season, 15 fantasy points. Scoreless 106 yards, but still getting over that hump. And he got 8 of his 10 targets for 106 yards, and it's just he's a guy to have. But he's not on this list because he's over 50% owned, obviously.
Right.
So
you better be.
Yeah, you better be. Yeah. You got any other names on here? Well, I'm not interested in Alec Pierce, unfortunately. I think he's a good talent, but it's kind of the Pittman thing. You can say the same about Paris Campbell too. The state of the Colts is yuck.
Right.
And Jamison Williams, I don't know. He's sitting around there at the bottom. I could shuffle these names around, like you say, like Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't mind if you've got room. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's definitely a flyer guy that you should have on your. You can have on your team. I wouldn't say you should have on your team, but you can have on your He's a good guy to have on the bench, so you can have him. He's not a must guy, but he's a sound guy to have on the bench. He shouldn't be sitting out there. He should be on somebody's roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, one guy that's kind of surprising that still pops up on here is Treylon Burks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had some, a lot of buzz going on with him, but if you saw yesterday the game against the Chiefs, I mean, that passing offense does not exist.
No.
Why would you want a piece of that right now? I do not know. I wouldn't take the chance on him. It doesn't matter.
That's the thing. It's kind of a weird game like last night because it was like Tennessee is run first and pass second, whereas it's the kind of the reverse on the Chiefs. Is that they're kind of pass first and it showed. I mean, but the run first team nearly beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead, and that's not easy.
No, I agree. They had great defensive effort, great game plan. They tried to stop Mahomes, but Mahomes just was out of the world. I mean, he just played. He shows why he's the guy is a huge difference maker, and one of the best, if not the best, quarterback out there right now. So I mean, he put it out of his mind.
Show today is crowded, so we must move quick.
Yeah, because we've only got about 10 minutes to talk about tight ends.
No problem. We can do it.
We can do it because there's only 8 tight ends in the rankings of the Fantasy Pros Waiver Rankings, and I like number 1 to Greg Dulcich. I like Kate Otten showed some stuff.
Absolutely.
What do you think of that Kate Otten? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I really have Dulcich, but Otten's right behind him, and even Cole Kmet, number 3.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of those guys are looking great. They're great 3 options if you're desperate tight end or just get sick and tired of rotating him in and out, streaming them. Those guys you should grab on your team immediately.
Yeah, and another guy on this list too that kind of doesn't get talked about enough is Foster Moreau of Las Vegas. He's a consistent receiving tight end. And I know Darren Waller is there. He kind of puts a monkey wrench in there. But Waller is hurt a lot. And I mean, if Waller is out again, I would definitely consider you need a tight end. Foster Moreau. I would put him a little bit higher than the other names on here. I'd even put him ahead of Fant. So, I'm not sure about Greg Dulcich at number 1. I think I'd rather have Otten or Kmet, maybe. I think I'd rather maybe Otten, because he's kind of like, what did they say on the, it was another banter between Collinsworth and Tirico. Yeah, Baby Gronk. That was it. Yeah. That was it. Baby Gronk. Yeah. And that kind of sounds right. No, that wasn't, was it? No, it wasn't. It was, Romo and Nance. It was Romo and Nance. I think it was Romo and Nance. There were Jim Nance and Tony Romo. They were the ones talking about it, calling him Baby Gronk. And I thought, yeah. So,
I still rather have Dolce though. I think
so?
Yeah, I mean he's had 2 top 10 finishes already in his 3 weeks he's been playing, and that offense they need another weapon, so he's I'd rather have Dolce. And Otton's number 2, and Komet, what Justin Fields playing out of his mind right now. That Komet has to be 3, but either one of those 3, put them in any order you want. But those are the 3, you should definitely get on your roster with the tight end situation the way it is.
Yeah, but I definitely would put Foster Moreau maybe number 4 instead of Fant.
Yeah, Fan always had the ability, but never the production.
Yeah, he battles with Disley there. And for targets, and Disley always seems to get the good targets than Fant does.
Right.
If you know what I mean when I say good targets, he gets the better balls, the better passes from Gino. And speaking of players that are playing out of his mind, Gino is unbelievable this season. He finished, let me tell you about Gino here. We're on the topic of tight ends of the Seahawks here. Gino finished QB5. I mean, he's had finishes of 7, 2, 4, 19, 15, 13, and 5. He's got one more game before he goes on holiday against the Buccaneers. That'll be at Tampa Bay.
I think it's at Germany, I think.
That's true. Oh, you're right. It's Germany.
Yeah, Sunday morning, yeah.
That's right.
My time Sunday morning.
Yeah.
9:30 here in the U.S.
Yeah. So you got a game. Gotta wake up. That's right. That's the Germany game is something you gotta talk about too. So
that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Germany.
I can't wait to watch that.
Germany is all about beer. Beer is Germany.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
All right. So I think we covered, you're right, we did cover the, the show is crowded, but we still moved quick. And look, we've got more than 5 minutes to talk about anything else we want to talk about week 10. And I think you started off with this Munich game. There's one more. I think they play in Mexico.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
In a week or two. It might be next week. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at things. But Munich, that's pretty exciting. Apparently, what did they say on the... What did they say on the show that this was Tony Romo and Nance talking? They said the tickets sold out like in 5 minutes. Like it was sold out in 5 minutes for the game in Munich.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. As soon as the tickets sold out, they were gone. 5 minutes.
Wow.
Sold out.
That's crazy.
Just
a lot of beer drinking going on there.
Yeah. And it's not a bad game to have too. Interesting matchup that.
Right. Way Seattle's playing, and Tampa needs to keep winning to keep their season alive. So, yeah, Brady, after that big win last night, Brady's going to be on a high, so let's see what they can do. And Tampa Bay's defense is not like they've been the past couple of years. Their defense is looking kind of, so at best.
Yeah, but they got this, but again, there's this sort of letdown thing because it was kind of a really emotional win for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, true.
But the Seahawks are kind of coming off a big win too, but not as big as it seemed with Tampa Bay against the Rams.
Right.
There's kind of like there's a bit of hot blood between the Rams and the Buccaneers a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't like each other, I don't think.
Yeah. Whereas the Seahawks and Buccaneers, did you know that the Seahawks and the Buccaneers, they came into the league at the same time?
Yep. Expansion teams. That's 77, 76,
75. Thing is I was kind of solely a Packers and Minnesota fan. Like when I was a kid, before I was, when I was talking going back way high, I was really into Joe Cap, and back in those days, Joe Cap, they were the big thing. Joe Cap, man. Joe Cap was awesome. Everyone, I don't know, even today in Minnesota, they consider Joe Cap, he's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. He did, he wasn't that great a quarterback, but he was so freaking tough that, I told him when he got knocked out on the field and he got up on his own power and they just ran off the field. And, in those days, you just kept playing. You didn't, if you had a concussion, you're out there the next, you just didn't care in those days. Proper football, we're talking. I mean,
right.
The only difference, the old days football, man, it wasn't like, they were just one step. The only thing they got rid of was the wedge. Back in that was the only difference between football of 1969 and early days was that they didn't have the wedge formation. Because they stopped the wedge because people were getting killed.
Yeah, that kind of puts a damper.
Yeah, I kind of ended that, but you know, look up the wedge. You'll see it's quite interesting how football used to be like back in the 20s and 30s. I think they even got rid of it in the 20s, because I think before the wedge, you know, we're talking. It's weird when you look back at NFL football. It was actually in the 20s and 30s. NFL wasn't really that. It was actually college football was bigger than NFL. Did you know that?
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't until the 60s that, or the 50s, I guess the 50s and 60s that NFL started to become more popular than the college game. So
You know, NFL is the favorite sport of everybody now.
yep, even bigger.
Guys,
Even
look at-
baseball. Baseball was the big deal. When I was a kid, the World Series was the big thing. It's true.
Right. I saw a stat online. Somebody tweeted out that. Oh, here it is, right here. I was reading it. So, that Game 3 of the World Series on Fox had 11.3 million viewers, and meanwhile, a regular season NFL game gets over 20 million viewers on a consistent basis.
Never
How's
used to
that
be
work?
like that. Never
I
used
know.
to be like that.
It's crazy.
I mean, I
That's
remember, when I was a kid, the first World Series I really remember was the Reds and Orioles in 1970. And I mean, that was a 5-game series. I'll never forget it. Johnny Bench, and, you know, famous names, right? Concepcion, Don Gullett, you know, Blair, Boog Powell. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Boog Powell. These are famous names. Jim Palmer, you know, they were in the World Series. That was big. But anyways, the World Series is over, and football's more popular.
Yeah, it is.
And that's amazing. What that stat you just said, a regular season NFL game beats out the World Series. How do you figure that?
Yeah, never think that would happen, but it kind of shows the popularity, obviously, and when they're expanding into different countries, you know,
Yep.
I don't know, maybe before our lifetime, we'll see regular season games there, even a team there maybe one time, they will figure out a schedule.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyways, thank you for joining us on the Fantasy Edge. We'll see you next week for Week 11. I'm Richard Savill for Dennis Sosic. Have a good week, folks. Take care.
Good luck.